That's basically sums up what our market is. I couldn't even spell it out. It's just bleep, because no one has a clue what's going on. There is no pattern. There is no consistency. There is no average. There is no median. There is no, this is what should happen. This is what might happen. It's all over the place. And I'm talking all price points, all areas. Again, we cover 60 miles around the Knoxville area. Mainly, let's say, within 45 minutes is kind of the core, and 30 minutes of the business. But it's all over the place. Lowball offers are getting accepted and rejected. Reasonable offers are getting accepted and rejected. Some homes are going over asking price and going multiple offers. It doesn't make any sense. Offers that sellers should be accepting, sometimes they don't take. Offers that sellers shouldn't take, sometimes they take. Some buyers put in stupid offers, and sellers reject it, and it kills the whole thing. And some buyers put in stupid offers, and they get a decent counter back. I mean, it is all over the place. There is no logic to what is going on in our market right now whatsoever. Rates have kind of spiked up, unfortunately. This war, which is really the first time in my real estate career, I guess maybe too, where I've had the knowledge and the experience to really understand like micro level things that can impact real estate. And I say micro, but I'm talking about the war, which is not really a micro thing, but it affects the stock market, which then affects like the bonds, which then affects like treasury, and then that affects mortgage rates directly. So we are at like a 3-month high on interest rates. Now I say 3-month high like it's a bad thing. Rates are like 6.5. That's a good thing if you've been buying a house since like 2023 in the last like 3 years. There's a lot of people that we've closed in the last 3 years that would gladly take a 6.5 because they're at a 7.5 and 8. But we were at a 6. We're actually like 5.9, which means a lot of buyers when prime's there, they were getting another half point off that, like mid 5s, and we were rolling. I think I'd come on and said it like, hey, I told you guys the timing, and we're rolling. And sure, we still are, arguably, right? We're still busier today than what we were at any point last year, except during the spring. We were busy. We were just another 5-10 contracts busier like a week or two ago. And then this whole thing with the rates kind of popping back up and just kind of slowed things back down. It's got some people scared. And who knows of what coulda, shoulda, woulda, might happen. But it's crazy to think, something like a war, how much it really does impact buyers and sellers and their opinion on things. But man, I mean, it is all over the place as far as what's going on in our market. It makes no sense. So if you have an agent out there, it's like, oh, I know right now is the best time to buy. Full of shit. Right now is the best time to sell. Full of shit. I don't know what's going on. And I promise you, unless you just need to do something, it's unpredictable. You may be a seller and have the unicorn property, and you may come in and sell and say, Stephen, list this property, and I may sell it for multiple offers and over asking price and look like a hero. Now, do I think that we do a good job and we do everything properly? Yes, of course. Can another agent do exactly what I do and mimic it and get you the same results? Probably. But also at the same time, I can say, hey, look at our experience. We do more real estate than everyone around our area by a long shot, nearly doubling. I also have listings that I'm like, hey, it's a good listing. It's at a good price. We should be able to move this thing, and the dang thing's still sitting. I've got a home that we've had for like 5 months. It showed like 75 times, 75 showings in 5 months. You can almost take probably almost all the other listings that we have, it's not our contract, and combine them, and they don't have that many showings. it's just odd. And I'll kind of get into a little bit of what is moving, at least like a little bit of pattern, because there's not a whole pattern at all. Like it's not just a complete buyer's market. And it's not, it just doesn't fully suck for sellers either. But if you have a home and it's, let's just say under 400,000, it's a nice home, it's updated, you price it correctly, meaning you don't overprice it. You actually, price it based on the competition. Don't worry about the comps. Don't price it based on the comps. Price it based on the competition. Undercut your competition. If you don't and you do it, you lose the momentum. It is what it is, right? Your most power as a seller is in those first 3 to 5 days. After that, you as a seller, power is gone. Now, can you be stubborn and sit there and say, well, this is my make me move price. If I don't get it, I'm not moving. Sure. But no one's going to give you that. And I say no one, there's always a Hail Mary chance. But if you're trying to actually do something and play the real estate game, that's not going to work. But those houses typically are moved because there's not much inventory for that. If you try to look at homes under 400,000, go government loans, updated, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, got a garage, neighbors aren't 30 feet away, it's a rare find out there in this market. And so typically those homes will move. Also, when sellers listen to us, meaning they do kind of price it correctly with us, and they do a home inspection up front and provide that, they tend to move a little easier and a little better. Every seller that I've had to do, and this is including the 3 flips that I've done in my career, I've done 3 flips, done a home inspection on every one of them, provided it. Because I don't want to mess with the fall through. Fall throughs is not a good look. You scare buyers to death in this market. When buyers are looking for a reason not to buy a house, the fall through, all that's going to do is scare them. So when you do that up front as a seller, you can fix those things for much cheaper, because in the middle of the contract, trying to fix them in a timely manner, or doing it with a licensed GC or some sort of licensed person, when you can actually, arguably, and again, don't fix it. I'm telling you to fix it correctly, but you don't always have to use a licensed somebody. Plumbers are $150 an hour. Electricians like $150 an hour. It's crazy. And again, I'm not knocking it. I'm glad for them. I think for far too long those people were paid too much less. But Joe Schmo Handyman knows all the same stuff and can do almost as good of a job, and there's no risk of it, right? Then do Joe Schmo Handyman. And you get all that done, and you can, mark it, hey, it's done, and their inspector can check it. If they want to do another inspection, mark it. That is huge. Offering concessions, aka closing costs, to them is huge. I market that. We had a strategy with a listing that I went with a pull field. Literally the words like, Stephen, I trust you. Do whatever you think is going to be the best. We were under contract in day 1. We offered money for concessions for a situation that the home had that I knew we were going to get probably beat up for anyways. I did suggest doing an inspection. They didn't do that, but we ended up kind of getting in a situation. Inspection come back, showed some stuff that probably could have got done a little easier and cheaper, but it is what it is, and we were able to get it worked out because of initially we're able to lean on, hey, we're offering this because of this, and here's why, and we're able to get it all done and get into a better situation versus had we had not structured it like that, I think it would have been much worse off for them. And is there ever a way of knowing that the strategy you did was the reason why, or the strategy you didn't do is the reason why it is selling or no? No, there's no way to ever knowing, because you can't go back and know. But can you kind of piece the puzzle together and say, it makes sense, here's why? Sure. But I think it's really, really important. I think the days of saying hey, seller, underprice your home because we can get you multiple offers and move in a day for sure, I don't know that that's a strategy I'm going to go with. We could have done that in 2020, 2021, and for the most part, all of 2022, and been just fine. That basically started changing in 23, 24 started really changing by 25. Yep, those days are long gone. I also think days of overpricing your home, unless you are doing a make me move price, to see what happens is very tough. And I'm talking about big time overpricing. Overpricing a little bit's not terrible, especially if you're not in any type of hurry. But we got the sellers. Here's the comps. All right, Stephen, well, I want to list here. All right. I've got sellers that actually we moved and we still ended up at a price point that I thought we should have been. And it moved quick. And I've gotten sellers where we've had to lower the price, and odds are the offer they're going to get would be significantly less than what I had suggested by the time they're going to do their walk away and everything, if they would have just listened to me up front. And, they've been on the market for months and months and months. And so you got all the hold costs and wear and tear, arguably. But I say all this stuff, again, just to kind of recap it. Our market is bonkers. It makes no sense. There is no way that any agent can say, here's what's going on and why, because it's all over the dang board. And that is the only and best way to describe a market. When will that change? I don't know. I knew spring was going to be hot. It is arguably hot as far as comparing it to the other times of year in these last 2 years. But already I was watching a guy yesterday talking about national data for 2026. It is not looking good. Basically the first half of 2025, the median price went up something like 2.5%. And then the back half of 25, the pricing actually went down by like 1.8. So like the actual gain in real estate value, median wise for 2025, was like less than 1%. Well, guess what? That doesn't keep up with inflation. And so for the first time, I think it was the first time, and I forgot how many years I think it was since 2011, wage growth outpaced real estate growth, which is crazy to think about. Real estate, so like, oh, my home still gained, let's just say 1% in value. Well, no, because inflation was 2.5%. So you actually didn't even keep up with value. You didn't even keep up with inflation because the dollar's worth less. And I was like, that's, now that he kind of says that, and basically he was talking about all like your big players, your Zillow and Redfin and these other names that I can't remember, what they've done to change their projection. And basically they're projecting like little to no gain in 2026, meaning real estate will stay flat. And by staying flat, that means like the purchase price is going to arguably stay flat. That does not account for the amount of repairs, the amount of closing costs, concessions, contractor credits, all the stuff on the back end that they don't account for in these real estate closings that actually make the seller, hey, they sold it for list price. So therefore, great, the market's doing all right. No, they paid $20,000 to a contractor at closing for repairs. So they sold their home for $20,000 less. Builders, and this is why the game is played like that, so that keeps comps high. That doesn't make people panic when you're giving money on the back end. And in Tennessee, it's definitely starting to happen. I'm seeing your DR Hortons lower prices for the first time. They're offering more and more concessions. They're offer rate buy downs if you use their lender. But in a place like Texas, so I know for sure in a place like Texas, they're buying like $30,000 to $40,000 rate buy downs. You could go to Texas and get like a 4.5% rate because these builders still want you to buy the home for $400,000. And then of that, they're basically kicking back $30,000 to $40,000 to the lender to buy your rate way down because they don't want to lose the comps. The second that one home sells for way less, it ruins the comps for the rest of them. Right? Same thing in the opposite side of what happened in COVID. So all of a sudden, one home got bought by a cash buyer, $30,000 above everything. So what all the neighbors do? God, their home could sell for that. Boom, boom, boom. And it just kept trickling. So that's where we're at. I still think we're going to see the transactions, kind of pick up here the next 2 or 3 months. But that's to be expected. I think probably by late June, if interest rates are still in the 6s, I think we basically just get right back to what the market's been, which is this slow and even more of a buyer's market. But you're going to have a few sellers entering the game here between this spring and kind of early summer that's been on the sidelines for a long time. They've got a ton of equity, potentially cash, when they sell their homes. So you're going to see a lot of that. But what that's going to do when somebody needs to sell and buy, that's a wash. So it doesn't increase inventory and it doesn't take it down. So it's just a wash. That person's a washout. But yeah, it's chaos. And it's all over the board. We put an offer today that was a very reasonable offer with a buyer. And the seller come back with this counter that was just, what are we doing? Do you not want to sell the home? Like that, your counter is not unreasonable because of how long you've been on. Your counter is unreasonable. And I literally told my people, which were open to taking the counter, and said, you know what, we like the home, we're good. I said, obviously I'll write it up if you want me to, but I don't like it. If they're gonna be this unreasonable in their counter, imagine when you get an inspection report back and you want to negotiate some things in that inspection report back. Guess what? They're going to be even more unreasonable. And now you're out $500 on it. So hey, that makes sense. And because they're being unreasonable, I told them, I said, just walk away. There's another home out there. We'll find a seller that actually wants to reasonably negotiate. Because, if it was an unreasonable offer, I wouldn't sit here and even be brawling it up. Because I do have that. I have plenty of those as well. But we gave a very, very respectable, probably even should have gave a lower offer, but they wanted it. And the counterback was just mind-blowing to me of what the counterback, and I was like, all right, well, it is what it is. So if you have questions about real estate, other than, hey, Stephen, what the market's doing, because my answer's going to be like, I don't know. Do you know what the market's doing? If you have other questions on real estate, always happy to help. Holler anytime.